Okay, Mike, what we're gonna do, it's your first time seeing this. I'm gonna show you what the product is and when you are licensed, what you're gonna be doing.
Sure.
Okay? So when we sit down with a client, we have a pretty much two-step process. Number one, we educate them. This is what we use to educate somebody. Okay? Number two, we collect their data. Basic data, like, hey, what's your situation right now? What are you missing? What can you have? Right? And then we give them a solution. So number one, Mike, I always go over this idea. It's very simple, and it's called the X curve. Okay, Mike. Number one, I'll ask you a question. What age do people usually start their life? Meaning, what age do people on average get married at or have responsibilities? What age do you think that usually is?
My experience with my friends, I don't know, around 30.
30? Yeah, that's right. 30 right over here. And Mike, what's the retirement age? It's going to be about 65 to 67. They're trying to make it 67 now, right? We're at the age of 30. Our responsibilities are usually very high. And some of the responsibilities young people at that age might have, number one is rent or a mortgage. That's a big responsibility people have. The second might be young kids, right? At that age, if you get married, of course, pop out one or two and boom, ready to go, right? And then it's having a car, sometimes car loan, whatever it might be. And then sometimes people have student loans. Now, Mike, over time, as they get to the age of 65, these responsibilities should go down. As the kids grow up, the mortgage is paid off, all of those things happen, the responsibility should decrease over time, right? But for most people, that never happens. For most people, responsibilities always remain high throughout their life. And wealth should, of course, when we're starting off, wealth is low. We're just starting to save. Sometimes we have credit cards, so on and stuff like that. Wealth should increase over time. By the time we're age 65, we should have $1, $2, $3 million sitting around in the bank, right? Now, Mike, the question here is, when we drive a car, what is something we have to have on the car, or you can't even take it on the road?
Insurance.
You have to have car insurance. Now, when we buy a home, we get something called home insurance. Mike, the question for everybody is, whoever you ever sit down with, who pays for the house and the car? We do. How many people have proper income protection? Their income is paying for everything. How many people have proper life insurance or critical illness protection or disability? Most of them don't, right? So when our responsibilities are higher than our wealth, we must have proper insurance protection, meaning protecting our income. The second thing is, when we want to retire, we must have proper investments. Retirement has nothing to do with age. You can retire at 40 if you would like, or at 50 if you would like, right? All it has to do with is money. If you have enough money in your bank account, you can retire tomorrow. Like I say, if you hit the lottery tomorrow, you can retire tomorrow too, right? So these are two things we do, Mike. We do income protection and we do investments as well. These are two areas we help people with. How many people do you think need help in both of these areas?
A
A lot. That's what we do, right? Now, Mike, we talk about discipline. There's two types of people out there. Person A, what they do is they get their paycheck and they spend it all and they save nothing. Now, if they're living like this on a monthly basis, they're spending everything that they earn, they're not saving a dollar. What do you think they're gonna have by age of 65?
Not much.
Their pockets are inside out and they have no idea what went wrong throughout their life, right? The second type of person is person B. What they do is they have a paycheck, but they do something called pay yourself first. Meaning, if I'm working a job, let's say I'm getting paid $10 an hour and I'm working at Canadian Tire. The first hour that I go into work, I'm gonna pay myself. That $10 is my own bill, my family's financial bill. Now, if I'm saving $10 a day, how much is that in a month? It's $300, right? So people are, by the way, no one gets paid $10 anymore an hour. It's all what's minimum now? It's
1750.
17.50. When I first started at Canadian Tire, it was $8.50. So less than half of whatever it is today, right? So people can save, but look at what happens. They have the same expenses, but they end up saving a little bit every month. Now, Mike, this person by age 65, what do you think they're gonna have? Quite a bit. At least a lot more than this person. So this is what we do for people. We help people understand the importance of saving today rather than tomorrow. Okay. Now the question is, Mike, where are we gonna save? It's called the rule of 72. Have you heard of this rule before?
No.
When I first heard this rule, I was shocked. I was like, we should be learning this in high school. But of course we don't. This is a rule where, let's say, Mike, today you're 29 years old. And let's say you have $10,000. You go into the bank and you're gonna deposit that $10,000. And let's say the bank gives you 4%. Here's the rule. You take 72, you divide it by the interest rate you're getting by 4. The answer you get is the number of years your money will take to double. So 72 divided by 4 equals 18. Every 18 years, your money's gonna double. So look at this. 18 years later, when you're 47, that 10,000 is now 20. And at age 65, another 18 years, that 20,000 turns to 40,000. So you turn 10,000 into 40,000, which is pretty good overall, right? But my question is, what did the bank do with your money? They reinvested it. I'll give you an example. If anyone has a credit card, what's the interest rate on your credit card?
21%.
21%.
If you're not paying time.
Yeah, and also
But
there's
they hope.
even like car loans. Car loans are now what, 8% now, right?
For new cars.
For new cars.
6 to 12 even.
Yeah. For used car, it's 6 to 12%. So I'll give you an example. Let's say they take your money, the 10,000 you deposited, and they loan it out, and let's say they get a 12% rate of return. That same formula, 72 divided by 12 equals 6. Your money for the bank will double every 6 years. So look at the power of this. You put in 10,000, 6 years later they have 20. At 41, they have 40,000. At 47, they have 80,000. 80 will double to 160. 160 doubles to 320. And 320 by age 65 is going to be $640,000. So when you retire, Mike, you're going to go into the bank. You're going to take your $40,000. They're going to keep $600,000 of your money that you never even knew they would.
Okay.
It's just one of the examples.
So one example. So, and Mike, I always ask this question. How many people do you think need to know this? Everyone.
Everybody.
This is the power of financial education, right? So these are two concepts we share. The last concept I go over is called the financial house. You know, when we build a house, any house, the first thing in the ground is a foundation. The foundation is made of concrete. It's so strong, anything happens outside, the house is still standing. In our life, the concrete of our life is our income. The income is coming in, the house is running. The income stops, what happens to the house?
It's gone.
It's gone, right? So, Mike, there's 3 things that can happen to hurt somebody's income. Number 1 is called a disability. I'll give you an example. I was working out in the gym. I tore my shoulder. If I was working a construction job, I cannot go to work. Right? My income stops. The bills are still coming in. So in this case, there's something called disability insurance, which most people don't have. Some people, they have WCB coverage, right, through work, but that's only if you get hurt at work. What if you get hurt outside of work?
Right.
Very important. Disability insurance. The next thing that can happen is called a critical illness. These are 25 different illnesses, like cancer, stroke, heart attack, all of these things that can happen. And in that case, the income stops, but the bills don't. You're not going to work next day. You're focusing on recovering. But imagine if you have the stress of bills to pay, right? What this coverage does is it will cover you, let's say $100,000. If you get any of these illnesses, the insurance company will pay out. But there's a benefit over here too, Mike. In 15 years, if you don't get a critical illness, all the money you paid, you get it back. So what's the risk? There's no risk, right? So there's a benefit there as well. The last thing that can happen is called life. We don't know when we're gonna go. In case we go too soon, kids are young, responsibilities are high, we must have proper life insurance protection so we leave something behind for them. That they have a roof over their head and they have food in the refrigerator, right? So over here, there's a type of life insurance where you're putting money in, but in 20 years, whatever you put in, you have more than that sitting there. How many people know about this account? Most of them don't, right? So this is something that we do for people, that we can help them with disability protection, we can help them with critical illness, and we can help them with life protection. And then we help people with debt management. If someone has a lot of debt, we can do consumer proposals. We can do those through our firm as well. And we can help them reduce that debt and pay it off, right? Rather than going bankrupt, right? The next thing is emergency funds, saving up for in case of a emergency. 3 to 6 months of your income on the side. If the roof starts leaking or you get a flat tire, you're good to go, right? And the last thing we do is investments. We do all types, TFSAs, RRSPs, children's education, RESPs, first home savings accounts. You see, Mike, you can open all these accounts in a bank too. But the only thing is the bank is going to give you the 4%, whereas here we can possibly give you 10 to 12%. We have many funds that perform like that. And of course, I already showed you what the difference is. It can be the difference between retiring with $40,000 or $640,000. That's the difference, right? So Mike, this is what we do, okay? And I always mention over here that what if there was a product out there? What if it will cover you for critical illness, it'll cover you for life, and it will have investments all in one? Is that a good product? And by the way, if you don't pass away and you don't get a critical illness, you get all your money back. Good account?
Yeah.
Damn, that's right. That's what we do for people. You know, when you educate someone, they're gonna be number one shocked by Rule of 72, right? It is shocking. First time I heard it, I was like, holy shit, like everybody should know this. The next thing is, they themselves will tell you, hey Mike, you know, I got 2 little kids. Can you look into CI and life for me? Can you look into these 2 things? You know what we do next? We collect their basic data. I go right over here. And we get to find out their current situation, okay? Hey, Mike, you know what? Based on whatever I just shared with you, it's like a doctor's office, right? If you go into the doctor's office, the first question the doctor is going to ask you is, what's wrong? Right? You tell them, hey, this is what's wrong, and so on. Same way, look at us as a financial doctor. We're going to look at, hey, what's wrong? What are you missing? And then we're going to provide a solution. So first thing we do is collect basic data. We write their name, we collect their date of birth, and then we look smoker, non-smoker. All of these things affect the rates, okay? Then we look at their goals. In the next 2 to 5 years, what are their goals? It might be buying a home. It might be retiring parents, might be vacation, might be travel. All of these things we look at, what's important to them. Then we look at their monthly income, what's coming in, right? And sometimes they don't give you an exact amount. They might tell you, hey, you know what, Mike, I earn roughly about $5,000 a month. Just write 5,000 over here, right? And then we look at roughly expenses. Hey, what are you paying for rent? Hey, I'm paying $1,500 or whatever it might be, or mortgage or whatever it might be. They have certain expenses. Then we look at assets. And they might say, hey, Mike, I have in my checking account $20,000. Okay? What should I do with this? I don't want it at 4%. I want to get a better rate of return. Can you show me something? They'll tell you themselves. And the last question we ask, the most important question, is how much could you comfortably afford to set aside in a lump sum each month to reach these goals? You have a goal to retire. You have a goal to travel. How much can you save roughly each month? And we have a couple of options over here. It could be $200 a month. It could be $300, $400, or more. Depending on their situation, they will tell you. Okay? So this is roughly what we do for people. And then we provide a solution. Let's say, for example, young guy, 25 years old. Right over here. And let's say we are gonna save $300 a month. Okay? This guy can qualify for $1 million of life insurance coverage. That does not mean we have to give him $1 million. We can give him less or whatever we can do, right? So let's say, for example, let's give him $500,000 of coverage, $500,000. We can add a rider here, a critical illness rider that will cover 25 illnesses. Now we're gonna add this for a term 20. For the next 20 years, he will be covered for this. And let's say it's $100,000. We'll leave it at that. Okay? And over here, we're putting in, I'm just giving an example of 300 over here. And I'm gonna do 6% over here. So this all looks like gibberish. When I first saw this, I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at. But I'll show you how I would explain this. Mr. or Mrs. Client, you can put that $300 a month in a bank account, okay? But will a bank account give you any life coverage? Probably not. Will a bank account give you any critical illness coverage? No, it's not gonna give you anything, right? Let me show you a different place you can put that $10 a day where it will benefit you and your family a lot more, okay? So you're saving that $10 a day, that's $300 a month. It can be $100, it can be $150, it doesn't matter. I've done plans that are $1,000, $2,000 a month because they saw the value. Number one, there's 4 benefits to this account. Your money will grow. We ran this at 6%. In this account, we have many different investment options. And if you look at this, we can look at all of these investment options we can pick and choose from. I'll show you some of the returns of one of the accounts. It's probably my favorite account. I put most of my clients in that one as well. It's called the US DAC. Last 10 years, this fund has averaged 17.25%. Every single year on average. Some years are way more, some years are less. Look, last year it returned 46%. Year before that, it was negative 29. So if you span it out, it's far better than 3% from the bank. Okay, so I'll give you an example of what that means over here. You go to results. So of course we run it at 6%. It can perform more than 10%. If it performs more, the numbers I'm going to show you will be better. Okay. Another thing is safety. Is my money safe? You're invested in the top 500 companies in the US. Apple, Amazon, Tesla. As these companies grow, on average, your money will continue to grow as well. That's why the average over the last 10 years is pretty good, right? Next thing all the client cares about is what am I putting in and what am I getting? So we look at in 20 years, what did they put into this account? What do they have? And we look at age 65, when they retire, what did they put in? What do they have? Okay, so let me show you right here. In 20 years, they're saving $3,600 a year. In 20 years, they put in how much out of their pocket? $72,000 out of their pocket over that 20-year period. In this account, they have $110,000. They have $40,000 more than they ever put in. Remember, if this money was going in a bank, it would still be about 72. And more than likely, it would never get to 72 because what happens when money's sitting in the bank?
Inflation.
People spend it and inflation. Okay. Number 2, in 40 years, let's say at age 65, so he's saving $3,600 a year. In 40 years, that's going to be how much? 144. And he has how much? $500,000 in his savings. He can retire on this, he can use the money, he can do whatever he would like with it. Okay? Also, in this plan, he has life protection from day one of $500,000. He has critical illness protection of $100,000. By the way, in 20 years, If he wants to cancel this plan and take his 110,000, can he do it?
Yes.
Yeah. If he needs $30,000 out of nowhere, can he pull it out of this policy?
Yes.
Yes, he can. Can he stop making his payments? He calls the company and says, "Hey, I never want to pay into this again." Can he stop?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the plan will continue to run. I'll show you in 20 years. Look at this. In 20 years, if he stops making his payments, it will run for another 115 years. Meaning the plan is paid off in that span. Remember, this money can go two different places. It can go to a bank account where he gets none of these benefits. He's not going to get much growth. He's not going to have any tax advantages, and he's not going to have protection there. Or that same money can go into an account like this where he's going to have $500,000 at retirement. He has $500,000 of protection, and he has $100,000 of critical illness protection from day one. Which account is better? And by the way, Mike, you will come across people that have 5,000 sitting in their bank account, that have 10,000 sitting in their bank account, that have $50,000, $100,000 just sitting around doing nothing. And they can very easily start shifting that over into an account like this. It doesn't have to be 300. They can start as small as 200 or 100. At least it'll benefit their family. So this one account, actually, if you look at it, it covers them for critical illness, covers them for life, and covers them for investments. It'll build their retirement, protect their family from day one. What do they got to lose? Can everyone get this account? No, you must apply. It's an online application, okay? And of course, another thing I want to mention is they look at a lot of different things. They look at health, they look at past record, family record, they look at driving record, all of these things they will look at. And then they'll approve you or decline you. So not everyone can have an account like this. So this is the product. This is one of the products, just one of them. We have many other different products as well, but this is one of the main ones that we do because it can apply to anyone. A young person can get this, a middle-aged person, an older person, and it makes a lot of sense for them. Better than a bank account.